Greetings, Twin Flame lovers. It's Amanda.
And Jack.
And we're Twin Flames here with you to spread love across the galaxy. In this video, we're going to be teaching you our 5 steps to heal the Twin Flame runner-chaser dynamic so that you can embrace the ultimate Twin Flame union with your beloved. So stay tuned.
If you're new to our channel, welcome. We put out new videos pretty much every Sunday and Tuesday about Twin Flames Ascension, astrology, energy reports, as well as Twin Flame trainings and fundamentals so you can fulfill your highest potential with your ultimate soulmate. So subscribe to our channel, click that button if you'd like to join us on this incredible journey. In this chapter of our life, we're traveling the world and are currently in the beautiful country of Guatemala visiting retreat centers, spas, organic farms, spending time with family, and enjoying the sacred lake of Atitlan. And we will be visiting Amanda's brother's cacao farm pretty soon here.
Now let's jump into the special Twin Flame training. Let's first go over the Twin Flame stages. Okay, so there's a million articles out there and videos telling you what the exact stages are, but we're not going to give you any cookie cutter dogmas here. And to be totally honest with you, every Twin Flame journey is unique. No individual or couple is the same. So for those control freaks out there who need dogmas, the truth is that the Twin Flame path is not clean cut and is not an easy ride, as we cannot predict the exact stages of our particular Twin Flame journey, especially if we expect them to come in some particular order or timing. But these are the 7 fundamental Twin Flame stages that most, if not all of us have and go through. The major purpose of these is to prepare you for a sustainable union that encourages deep soul growth or ascension. The 7 fundamental Twin Flame stages are:
Number 1 is to have a really strong calling and yearning for your Twin Flame, desiring to return home. Number 2 is recognizing your Twin Flame, awakening love. Number 3 is the fairy tale relationship. Number 4 is outer turmoil and inner purging. Number 5 is the runner and chaser dynamic, which we're covering in this video. Number 6 is surrender and dissolution. And number 7 is reunion. In this video training, we are going to focus on the runner and chaser stage. We will share from our own story the ups and downs and challenges that we faced and fortunately conquered together, though it was not easy. Then we will share our best tips so you can successfully heal through these challenges as well. Now, I want to be honest with you. These tips in this short video will only take you so far. The Twin Flame journey is only for the most courageous souls who are willing to do the deepest work on themselves, so they can embody the love that they truly are with their beloved and not settle in any way. In order to get the best results, we always recommend our friends and followers to take more advanced trainings from a trusted coach or expert who can support your Twin Flame journey.
Yeah, so if you feel you're ready to 100% commit to this path and get real results, you might want to take the bigger leap with the Twin Flame Self-Love Bootcamp program. In Twin Flame Self-Love Bootcamp, it's a program that we've created to give you everything you need to know to become magnetic to your Twin Flame as a goddess of self-love, even if you've been looking around for years. It's a 3-part online training for high-achieving conscious women who are ready to reboot their love lives by magnetizing their ideal life partner within themselves first. This is a step that most women miss, and it keeps them lost in love and wasting time for years. You can access Twin Flame Self-Love Bootcamp by clicking the link below.
Now, a lot of people believe that the Twin Flame union is some kind of fantastic fantasy fairy tale thing, so I'm going to bust that illusion and start by sharing our trials and tribulations in our runner and chaser stage that occurred before we reached Twin Flame union and married each other. To be honest with you, even though we discovered that we were sacred soulmates and felt like we were twins destined to be together, we had some shadows hiding, some deep codependency issues. And once we committed as a couple, we were in the fairy tale stage together for a while, and this helped us open our hearts to do the deep inner work on ourselves. But then, yikes, Amanda became overgiving and I became over-receiving, and we were caught up in some gnarly codependent entanglements that got worse and worse. This phase lasted for quite a long time until it reached a climax and a point of no return.
And just like a dam overflowing with water, something had to give. And once that dam burst, there was no going back. Now, let's first go over the definition of codependency. In Wikipedia, it states codependency is a controversial concept or dysfunctional helping relationship where one person supports or enables another person's addiction, poor mental health, immaturity, irresponsibility, or underachievement. Among the core characteristics of codependency, the most common theme is an excessive reliance on other people for approval and a sense of identity. Ouch. This is pretty much what was happening to us. We had some major unmet needs running under the hood of our vehicle of our relationship that we weren't willing to look at or take responsibility for. And on top of this, we had subconscious people-pleasing addictions that was fueling our boiling pot, our inner turmoil and resentments.
I'd like to go further to point out a more accurate definition of codependency for us. Our codependency was rooted in the unhealthy habit of, quote, modifying our behavior with an underlying agenda to manipulate another into being happy or to avoid upsetting another or avoid loss of love. Let's say that one again. Modifying our behavior with an underlying agenda to manipulate another into being happy or to avoid upsetting another or to avoid loss of love. I'd say I was modifying my behavior at the time by emotionally shutting down, distracting myself, disconnecting from Amanda so that I didn't have to feel the grief of the perceived loss of love that I was experiencing. I was building up resentment that my needs weren't being met. And I didn't feel fully seen or heard or appreciated at the time. And eventually I felt really angry, sad, and depressed.
Aww. And I was subtly and subconsciously modifying my behavior by avoiding the tough conversation that basically was pissed at Jack for not creating structures in our relationship and our business so that my feminine could feel safe to expand. I was overgiving out of fear of abandonment, trying to please Jack in indirect ways so that he wouldn't leave me, and feeling resentful that my needs weren't being met deep down. My needs for deep connection, empathy, and compassion were not being met. And I wasn't even aware of this. Eventually, we reached a climax point where we went on a 10-day vision quest alone and cut off communication so that we could mend our emotional wounds, that we could identify our needs, give what we needed to ourselves, and reclaim our power, and then check in with each other after. It was also painful and scary to separate because I was considering the possibility that Jack was going to leave me and that maybe we did need to separate.
Yeah, at the time, I took the initiative to basically create a container for 7 days. I went on a vision quest, and I really knew that I needed some alone time. I knew that we needed to separate physically and not have any verbal communication for a while so that we could truly check in with ourselves, feel into the areas where our needs weren't being met, check in where we were, being codependent with one another, and really take the time to get our own needs met and connect back to ourselves because we were so entangled with each other for a while there.
Yeah, and Jack actually was the one that initiated it, and I resisted it. I was terrified. My little girl and my super feminine energy, she was like, don't leave, come in, come in. But once actually we had a full separation, Jack went halfway across the country. We were out of contact. I think if we needed emergency communications, we had text, but we were basically on our own. And in that experience, I became so grateful because I reconnected to myself and my feminine energy in a way that I was not able to do in the drama of our conflict and also in the addiction that I had started to create with my man. And so basically in the separation, I think we both realized wow, we carved out some patterns that were unconscious, that probably were in maybe even our ancestral lineage, or even just coming from our own childhood experiences, unhealthy blueprints that were coming up, so that we could get lost in them and so that we could then find ourselves in them. But we weren't able to find ourselves when we were so bound. So that separation space, with all the pain and the muck and the everything that was like so intense for, especially for the inner child, we were able to take responsibility for it as adults, I believe, in part because coming together, we had actually strengthened our inner adults. We had really done a lot of healing, a lot of heart healing, a lot of, even on a body level, just being with your twin flame and having this healing happen on a nervous system level, on a bodily level. And I'd say the gift in the abandonment is Jack abandoned me with communication and integrity. At first it was a little uncomfortable because he kind of just like left and then called me. But he said, look, I'm scared that if I don't take space, you're going to kind of just like bully me into being in a relationship, right?
Yeah, just engulf me with your feminine love.
And I was like, wow, he doesn't feel safe around me. Like, that's a pretty big deal for your partner to say, I don't trust that you won't manipulate me into something. So I really like took that to heart. And even though it's like, don't leave me, you jerk, you know, why are you leaving me? I was like, oh, like he just expressed vulnerably that he doesn't feel safe in our relationship to make decisions without my manipulation. So I really sat with that. And I discovered a layer that I'd like to talk about just really briefly, and I'll share more about this in other videos. But do you want to share anything about how that was for you, expressing to me with vulnerability, like, I feel overwhelmed by you, and what was it like to make that separation?
It was really challenging and new for us, and it was really scary because I was facing within myself the possibility of separating our relationship, separating from each other, and a lot of emotions came up. I cried, and I'm the type of person that doesn't cry very often.
I've seen him cry like twice.
And talked to a lot of people. I was in a men's group and talked to some of the guys there, got some good advice, and just did a really deep dive within myself, feeling into the areas where I was attached to our relationship and feeling the grief that was underneath that needed to be felt for myself, and just processing emotions and resentments, and then taking responsibility for those resentments instead of just projecting it onto Amanda, checking in with myself where I was resentful towards myself for not setting healthy boundaries for myself, for not clearly communicating with Amanda my emotional needs, getting clear what my emotional needs were, and yeah, all that.
So you can see this is an example of a man who's really committed to doing the healing work. And that was something that I want to point out was different from my previous relationships, where I would fall in love, there would be the similar patterns, but in the separation, the man would just go off and find another lover and, you know, soothe himself and not really want to look at his pain, and instead go, like, the pain is uncomfortable, I'm going to find a hottie. And then I would go into my wound of I'm replaceable, I'm too this, I'm too that, I'm too needy, not attractive enough, or whatever it was. But with Jack, even though we were halfway across the country, I could feel him spinning his healing wheels. Like, he was doing whatever it took to heal. And that really touched my heart and made me feel like, wow, you know, at least I've committed to a partnership where there's commitment. And I know that that's something that we need. And we almost just have to surrender and trust that we'll be able to figure it out or not, and surrender the relationship, and just whatever happens, I know that I'm loved. And I felt that love coming from Jack, and I felt that he could feel my love coming too. So that was nice to know that in the chaos, there was still commitment and there was still this sacred energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we did move into the surrender stage, like you mentioned. So a lot of what I was doing during those 7 days was surrendering to any of my attachments to the outcome of, you know, a attachment to our relationship working, and just surrendering to my emotions and my grief that was underneath all of these resentments and stories that I was telling myself. So, and I knew that we had to both surrender before we fully would be able to unite.
Yeah, and for me, surrender just came in flow because I'd been initiated by other a twin flame counterfeit and karmic soulmates in the past, where my heart had been destroyed. So I had done a lot of the healing, the things that we offer in Twin Flame Self-Love Bootcamp. I had done a lot of this inner work. So Jack and I together, we were like this like high sacred vibration. And then when he left, it was like the dysfunction was gone because we'd been conflicting in dysfunction. But there was this like high sacred union energy that was like, I'm not willing to let go of that. So what I did is I began pleasuring myself and bringing in the art of orgasm. And I had probably more orgasms in my life because I was so motivated to actually go out to this nature space that was behind our house at the time, very remote, isolated patch of land, where I would just fall in love with God above, Gaia below, and just make love to the entire universe. And I have to say that practice, I think, created a foundation for us to come home. And even to this date, it's been a couple of years since then. In order for me to reach those peak states in our union, I have to come back into myself and reconnect to my sacred feminine energy, even in my womb space, because that is the holographic harness to the sacred womb, to orgasm and the higher vibrational feminine energies. So
here are the steps to healing the twin flame runner-chaser dynamic. All of these steps are rooted in self-love, which we cover in depth in the Twin Flame Self-Love Bootcamp. Step number 1 is identify the stories and beliefs. Step number 2 is feel the underlying emotions. Step number 3 is identify the unmet needs. Step number 4 is give yourself what you need, which is self-love. Step number 5 is learn how to say no.
Set those boundaries.
Healthy boundaries. When you're freaking out and telling yourself all these crazy stories in your head that you're being abandoned and you're not good enough, or he's not good enough, or life's not fair, step 1 is to identify and bring awareness to those stories and beliefs that are going on in your head. Are they legitimate? Are they real? Or are they just stories and illusions of reality? Step number 2 is to feel the underlying emotion. What are the emotions underneath? How can you feel them more deeply? How can you feel through them? Step 3 is identify the needs that aren't being met. What are you needing emotionally, mentally, spiritually, or physically? Step number 4 is how can you give yourself what you need? What can you do? What lifestyle changes can you implement? What self-care practices can you double up on at this time? Lastly, step 5 is to learn how to say no from love. You simply cannot please everyone.
Even if you try.
Without knowing what you're a no to, you simply cannot know what you're a yes to. When you know what you're a no to, you then can know what you're a full yes to. Trust me, your partner will be eternally grateful for healthy, mature boundaries that he can trust.
Or she trusts.
I know from experience.
Mm-hmm. Now, remember when we said that these tips will only get you so far, and that it's important to take more advanced twin flame trainings to get the real results if you want it the fast way? Well, the Twin Flame Self-Love Bootcamp is a great next step for you if you feel called to accelerate your path. Just click the link below to learn more. We've decided to make this value-packed program extremely affordable, and we have a variety of payment options that will fit any budget. So click the link below to learn more. So don't wait on your path. So many women who come through our programs regret not having committed to their path sooner. We have the support for you. I've been through everything. Jack and I have created some amazing content to help you easily and gracefully push through the blocks and move into your twin flame legacy and truth. I guess that's it for now.
Yeah.
All right.
Namaste.
Namaste.